Welcome into this Monday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Parham and Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. We'll catch you up on whatever news that we have as we enter another week of isolation and trying to bring some normalcy to your days and, frankly, normalcy to our days as well, as this thing is moving on. It's only been a couple weeks, and it feels like 8 months at this point, so which tells you a lot about our society, frankly. But nonetheless, so we are this morning. Josh Kelley, Ole Miss grad, singer, going to join us here in a little bit on the Oxford Exxon Podcast. It's brought to you for Sunday by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West there in Oxford, and you're going to be able to, again, use the drive-through, the Oxford Crystal, curbside service at these things. Again, more restrictions going in, but nothing changing from a restaurant standpoint. Still need fuel, still a lot of things, as we talk about with the Oxford Exxon, the Oxford Crystal, still in place here as we move into another week. We'll get into some of that here in a minute on the show. But again, take advantage of that. You can still purchase things. You can get things from those locations there on Highway 6 West. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. They're open today, and so you can call and get a quote on a vehicle. Nobody wants to do a lot of interaction these days. You can get everything done with Corey and the people at Clark Ford online, over the phone, text, all of those things. You can honor all the social distancing mandates and still get a vehicle of your choice. You'll love it. Great service after the sale. 662-257-1900. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove that to you when you call that number. Also, guests will join us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Not really sure what's going on at Rafters. I need to get in touch with Hudson, to be honest. I know they were planning on trying to get some food in so that they could have another feed the public sort of a thing. I don't know where that stands. I'll try to find out today and report back to you tomorrow.
So we'll get a couple of the different things that have changed around town here locally. I think Tupelo has gone as far as to put a shelter-in-place order in. I think they did that a couple days ago. And then, again, some additional restrictions here locally in Oxford. Robin Tannehill announced that yesterday during a community conversation. And then the board met yesterday. But you've had a weekend, you had another week. You got all the kids at home, Neil. I mean, we're definitely not underplaying what's going on, but been able to slow down a little bit. I mean, is it possible to turn this into a bit of a personal growth period, in your opinion? Your mind is more moving than mine is. I can kind of compartmentalize and not really shut out or disregard, but I've made a really point to not dwell on it all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I'm dwelling on it. I've got 3 older kids, I said this yesterday, who have all had their lives completely upended, and they're dealing with it in different ways. You can see stress. Campbell couldn't find a pair of workout pants yesterday and was losing her mind. Still can't find them. I have no idea where they are. They're probably in the wrong drawer somewhere. But
it's not about the workout pants.
Nah, it's just stress. She misses her friends, misses her routine. The Wi-Fi doesn't always work the way it needs to work, so everybody's yelling at each other about streaming. So I don't know. And then I think there's the unknown. You see really poor leadership across the board. I think that's stressful. I know it's stressful for me. Tate Reeves should be embarrassed, humiliated. That can't be your only response to this as a governor of a state. The president, the House, the Pelosi and Trump can't even say each other's names. At some point, you've got to put some of that stuff behind. You're elected to serve the people. Do your job. I think as kids see all of that. I see all of that. It gets a little stressful. You can't help but read some of the articles and stuff that are out there, and after a while, you realize that, if some of these people who are very, very smart, and I think in almost all cases well-meaning, if some of these people are right, this is going to get ugly before it gets better. Going to get uglier before it gets better. I've told you that one of the things that I find stressful is that Trump continues to talk about this 15 days thing, and from his mouth to God's ears, but nobody else is saying that. Nobody else thinks this is over in 15 days, and I don't know when the 15 days started. Was that 7 days ago? I mean, I think there's almost a tease to people
Well-
that, hey, in 8 or 9 days, this is over and we get back to normal. And then what happens when we don't? Because we won't.
So that's what I was about to say with this. Is there, and this is not justification by any stretch of the imagination. Is it psychology in a weird way because he knows if he goes, hey, 60 days, everybody's going to freak the hell out?
I don't know.
Is it incremental on purpose?
I can no longer give him that sort of credit. I can no longer give him that type of intellectual credit. He does not behave in a manner and talk in a manner and tweet in a manner that supports long-term visionary intelligence. And this is coming from someone who will probably vote for him, given the alternative. But this is a point where a president has to be above party. A president has to be magnanimous. A president has to be the speaker in chief, the leader in chief. He has to be compassionate. He has to lead. He has to be honest. He has to be transparent. And that's what's disturbing, I think, is that you can watch some of our elected leaders and there's a lack of transparency. And when the mayors of Tupelo and Oxford and places like that have to step in and go, okay, well, look, here's what we're going to do. First of all, kudos to them. I don't know the mayor of Tupelo. I can't.
Jason Shelton.
Okay, kudos to him. Kudos to Robin Tannehill, the people who stepped up and said, "Here, we're going to do the tough thing, going to kind of try to keep this as real as we can." When they're having to do it because the people who are in offices larger than theirs won't. That's not a good sign.
Locally, I think it's a stay-at-home ordinance is the way they categorize it. Again, it's not a shelter in place. It's not a, hey, you're prohibited from leaving your house. You can move about, but they're asking you to move about only for purposes, for essential things. The walking tracks have remained open. The parks are closed. Essentially what that's doing is you don't want 50 kids at Avent Park all over the same equipment. That's the goal that is going on with that. It also, any retail store of any manner is going to be closed starting today from inside traffic. If they can do curbside, then everything that can still operate as effectively as they feel like they can. However, if they do not offer curbside or delivery, then they are closed as of this moment. So it's going that extra step to get rid of some crowds that were still congregating in a lot of these places between the parks and the retail stores. I mean, I'll just say package stores can do curbside too. That's classified as a retail establishment. The question we have, I mean, nobody's going to know this answer. I mean, I don't think even Robin knows this answer because she mentioned several times yesterday about how things are changing so quickly that she looks and feels like a liar, but it's just that situations have increased. They were up to 5 positive cases as of yesterday. That number is going to grow. Robin basically alluded to that multiple times over the last 48 hours. By the way, David Johnson of 24/7, one of the positive cases, so thoughts with him. He put up an update last time on social media, said that struggling to breathe a little bit, but for the most part feeling a little better. I know they had given him some, even that the malaria medicine had been used in his care. So, just kind of hit home a little bit. Had a personal. That's the first time a personal one has been positive that I'm aware of, as far as people that I know or not interacted with, as far as being susceptible to this, but just interacted with in general. I know. I mean, and again, I don't know where he got it from. I know he was in Nashville for a little while at the 24/7 Publishers Convention. It might have had something to do with that, but I'm speculating, and frankly, that's a little wrong on my part. But I'm just trying to piece it together, as we all are, as we follow this thing along. So, the big thing: retail stores closed, except for curbside. No salons, hairdressers. You're not getting a haircut or anything right now. Otherwise, everything kind of the way it was already. I mean, if you're a restaurant, you can still you can still operate the way that you were operating. I got takeout once over the weekend, and they basically brought it to the car and said, "Hey, don't even touch it. Let me just sit it down somewhere." Everybody's being as cautious as possible with that. Now, the catch with this with restaurants is going to be how can they move enough margin to survive and keep doing this? I know a couple have closed here in the last 48 hours. I am wondering maybe in 10, 14 days what I feel as far as how many do remain open, what options we have, and then they just continue to stress that if you're going to the grocery store, buy what you need. The grocery stores are not going to close. The pharmacies are not going to close. The hardware store is not going to close. So don't hoard. Don't buy too much because it creates panic and causes everybody else to do it too. So that's the
hardware stores are open.
That was my understanding. Yes,
good. That's good.
Yeah. Home improvement projects.
Well, at some point I'll have to buy an edger.
An edger?
Yep.
Okay. Is that what you're thinking about? Right?
Yeah, that actually crossed my mind. I'm not traumatized by the lack of a salon. I don't, from a personal standpoint, that doesn't cross my mind. For the kids, it does. For the girls, it does.
I mean, that was some levity during the thing yesterday. As Robin said, well, for the first time, we might figure out what everybody's natural hair color is over the next
That's a good point.
The next 6 weeks. I know some hairdressers, salon people are doing in-home stuff. If you actually would want that or whatever, they're at least offering those services. But
so I pulled up. People can decide whether they want to determine this as a we talked. Matt Browning made a comment in the live stream thread. Jay and I both talked about his hairdressing needs and how they will not be met.
He has hairdressing needs.
Well, yeah, he has. He gets his hair absolutely gets it colored and gets it cut and color routinely. This is covidactnow.org.
Okay.
You can determine whether you think that is biased or not. I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you that it is. I can't sit here and tell you that it isn't. It's covidactnow.org. It's basically, this was last updated on March the 19th, so 4 days ago. So this might be a little outdated, but to the point of no return for intervention to prevent hospital overload. This might be one of the reasons that this is all happening now. This is probably some of the statistics that people like Robin Tannehill are getting, is March the 25th to March the 30th. If there's no action, the hospitals get overloaded by then. If we do 3 months of social distancing, the estimated date of hospital overload in Mississippi, this is just Mississippi generally, I don't know whether this means the whole state or how that means, is Friday, April the 24th. This is where I'm bothered by the 15-day thing. That's longer than 15 days from now. If we do 3 months of shelter in place, Mississippi's hospitals, according to covidactnow.org, never get overloaded. And if you do this on just about every state, here's the good news. The bad news is May and into June look a little rough. Starting about June the 7th, things start looking a little better. And by July the 1st, just about everyone nationally is generally out of the woods.
But that's with the shelter in place.
That's even with the
stay at home,
the social distancing
or whatever. Yeah.
Without action, and everyone has had action, so that's no longer a deal. But for the people who think that the answer was treat this like the flu and do nothing, and again, maybe covidactnow.org is completely wrong, but it would have been catastrophic in virtually every state in the union.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I think most everybody has understood that point.
Even the social distancing. I pulled up what state am I in now? I'm in Nebraska. I just hit a state. Even the social distancing is pretty rough in a state like Nebraska, where there's 2 times their point of no return for intervention is March the 28th to April the 2nd. It's kind of all the same. It's all the same thing. I mean, it's what bothers me a little bit from just a psychological standpoint is I think this thing is going to go into
the summer.
It's definitely going to go into the summer. And so when people say 15 days, like the president had a tweet this morning that the cure can't be worse than that's cryptic. I mean, if in 8 days we're just going to go back to normal, explain that. Tell people why. And then he keeps talking about how the networks aren't fair to him and the networks are mean to him and all that stuff. I just don't think this is the time for that.
Yeah, I read it as wrong, but with benefit of the doubt, whatever you call it, just this, because of the way Americans think, this incremental thing to go, okay, just get through this, take a step, get through this, then we'll get through this. And frankly, in the process going, hey, please God, let one of these medicines work and something crazy happen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you're almost holding out for kind of one of those deals at this point. But I don't know. It's an interesting messaging conversation.
I would have a completely different approach. I'm always a big believer in prepare for the worst. So tell people, hey, look, this is potential. We could be staring at 2 months of this. This is why it's imperative that we get this deal passed. Invite Pelosi to the White House and be kind. Work something out. Get money into the hands of people that need the money, that are scared. Alleviate some of that fear. Rise above some of this stuff. But they can't. And it's not just him, it's her too. I mean, the people are trying to put the Republicans are unwilling apparently to prevent stock buybacks. And the liberals are trying to put abortion stuff into this bill. Both. That's why I said this morning on the message board, both parties are acting reprehensibly. Whichever side of the aisle you're on, you can find fault with both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I'm fascinated by it. I do wonder, though. I do think, and this is not even really about Trump. Just anybody. This is local, state, or federal level. I do think if you go, hey, this is indefinite and we expect this to go 60, 90, 120 days, I think you've got a freak out factor.
Well, you do.
With people that would be very hard to maintain.
So you're just kicking the freak out
Yeah.
back. But in 15 days or 9 days, when you tell people, hey, we need to do 15 more days.
Yeah, I think you try to structure it around, hey, here's the progress we've made in these ways. Here's this, but you got to keep going. Good job. Kind of almost patting everybody on the back a little bit, and you move forward.
I'm like I said, yesterday was the day that I watched like Tate Reeves' thing, and I just said, unbelievable. It did lead to a funny moment on G-Pits.
Did it?
Well, yeah, we talked about how Tate Reeves' answer for this was prayer, and Gabe asked prayer circle.
Glad Gabe got in on that.
Which was funny, yeah. So now Gabe is the bad guy with the Auburn people, not me.
Oh, really?
Probably.
Although, is Jay still? Does he put that live stream on his own site still? Or no?
Oh yeah,
he does now.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one cashing in on it.
Okay, I knew for a while that wasn't a thing, so I wasn't sure what was going on there. Man, I don't know. I mean, in the shelter in place versus the stay at home, there's not a ton of difference, frankly.
Not really.
It closes some walking trails. It makes you can't be out for any kind of recreational thing along those lines. I mean, I assume you can still walk in your neighborhood, although I'm not even 100% sure about that. But you have to have some daily life things,
sure,
as long as we're being careful and doing the things that are needed. I mean,
that's what makes you irritated is you see all the pictures of the people that just are completely disregarding it.
Well, that's why Shelton went to the links he did. Is, I mean, Lord knows what he got from a reaction standpoint after seeing those Tupelo Furniture Market auction photos over the weekend, when it's just people congregating in everywhere. I mean, it was the furniture market version of spring break in Tupelo, just people all over one another, and you went,
it's insane. Really infuriating at those people, and the people that don't take away my liberties. Well, no one. That's kind of the point. No one is, but people are sort of trusting you to do the right thing here.
Well, it's like somebody asked yesterday, said, "Hey, if you break the rule, what is it?" And Robin's like, "Well, I mean, it's a misdemeanor, but let's just we're not trying to get in trouble.
Just don't.
Just don't. Yeah, that's the deal. Like, no, the police aren't going to come around and ask you what you're doing, but just don't be stupid.
Just be smart.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not, this is what we're doing. So just do it, and we get to the one thing she said, and other people have said, the faster we get through it, the faster we get back to normal. The faster we get back to normal, the faster things recover. The economy will recover. It always recovers. It will recover again. But it won't recover until we get through this, and we can't have hospital systems crash. We can't make it in America where doctors and nurses on ICU floors in places like Oxford are having to decide who dies, who gets to live, having to put valuations on human life. That's not fair to the medical people, and that's what forget the politicians. The medical people are begging us not to put them in that position. And in several places, I don't think we're too terribly far from that. So do the right thing. Don't spread it. Also, it's like I've told my kids, right now is not a good time to have a car accident. Not that there's ever a good time, but now's not a good time. Just going to have to deal with it. Skype with your friends, FaceTime with your friends, do the Zoom thing. Like they start back to quote school in quote today, and I don't know. It's gonna be stressful. Everybody's got to use the live streams, and we'll see.
That is the part. I mean, frankly, if you can get some stuff, accomplished, great with it. But there's so many kids and households that don't have internet capabilities of this. I am kind of curious. I mean, I'll be a little stunned if, whether we're talking about Oxford or we're talking about Ole Miss, that the semester actually gets completed as planned right now, simply because of issues technologically.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we're just trying to see where this thing goes and go from there.
I'm on a Facebook page, University of Arkansas parents page, and there were multiple people on there that live in rural places, I presume in Arkansas, who knows, maybe other places, and their kids had stayed in Fayetteville just for the Wi-Fi, but now they've had to close campuses there too.
Yeah. We're gonna talk to Josh Kelley coming up on the show here pretty soon. Before we do that and take a break to get him on the line, I will tell you that Special Orthopedic Group is still open at their 3 locations. You can find out more at sogms.com/COVID-19 is the address to see any policy changes, how they're handling anything as far as how they do business. But they are open, so you can read about it if you have things that need taken care of right now. Check them out. So again, sogms.com, Oxford, Tupelo, and New Albany.
Our friends at Blue Delta Jeans have pretty much gone to exclusively making masks, or surgical masks, I believe.
It's not necessarily for surgeries. They're going to find out more this week. They're going to they're doing some testing with some laboratories. The hope is that they're whatever the second best grade. Maybe that's not the N95, but better than anything else, which will allow them to use with first responders for anything along that line of protection as they move forward.
So that's what's going on there. Today is the final day of their deal at BlueDeltaJeans.com. If you enter the promo code POD at checkout, POD, you get $200 off your pair of Blue Delta jeans. That's POD at checkout at BlueDelta.com or BlueDeltaJeans.com. We're also brought to you by the Iron Horse Grill. I don't know if it's open or not. I can tell you this, that they specialize in on-site large event catering for up to 250 people, off-site full catering services, especially beverage catering. So if you're planning a birthday party, a graduation celebration, a rehearsal dinner, or a wedding reception for some time after this whole thing is over, you want to be able to enjoy the moment. You want to take this off your worry list, and they can handle it for beverage services for a 250 to 500 person wedding, or even a 3,500-person gala. Get in touch with Sarah Black at the Iron Horse Grill, 601-398-0151 for your catering needs, and knock that off your worry list. Let the Iron Horse Grill make your event one that is memorable forever. Don't just accept what you see, but imagine something new. Step forward and chase after a better version of yourself every day. Corinth Dental is helping people reinvent themselves one smile at a time. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures, including Invisalign. These clear aligners are the virtually invisible way to improve your smile. Call Corinth Dental today for a no-cost digital scan of your teeth and let them show you the way to a straighter, healthier smile. 12 months, no interest, no down payment, financing available at corinthdental.com. And Dead Soxy knows that these are uncertain times. They understand that oftentimes advertisers do everything imaginable to garner your attention away from the worries of the world, as if they have some magic potion that will solve a problem in your life and help you forget about everything else. While they would love to solve your sock problems, they do realize that may fall on deaf ears, or as some would say, it's a little tone deaf. But no tricks, no gimmicks. Dead Soxy wants you to be comfortable down to the socks that you are wearing. So go to deadsoxy.com. Use the promo code Rebel Grove at checkout to save 30% on all of your orders. Stay safe and stay Soxy.
Podcast also brought to you by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. They do underwriting and processing locally, which is a huge help. And they offer the float down option, so you can lock in current rates. When the rates go down before you close, you get that lower rate. I think we might even have Jason give you some ideas as far as how these interest rates work right now. A lot of people have questions as far as, hey, if the Fed rate falls, does that matter with mortgage rates and different things? So we try to help you out with that as the week moves on. 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com. Now we're going to talk to Josh Kelley. If you're in our live stream, hang out 1 second, and we'll be right back. Josh Kelley joining us here on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline this morning. Josh, appreciate the time. You just told us right before we went on air here that you don't have a lot going on. How are you kind of handling the self distancing, the isolation? You're supposed to go on tour here pretty soon, aren't you? So you getting a little stir crazy?
No. Yeah, I was on tour. I ended up doing. I did the Today Show, and then we started in New York. I did New York, Boston, New Hampshire, and then Philadelphia. And then I came back home for what was supposed to be about a week off. And my wife was like, "You're not going back on tour." And I said, "Honey, I agree with you. I'm not gonna chance this." So we're doing good. You know, I'm actually right now. I'm glad that you said that I could use my cell phone, because I'm in my truck, and it is the only quiet, safe place that I have in this house with my children. So it is. It's actually a blessing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, from everybody at home, you've got all that going on. What is how do you get work done? I mean, I guess your studio's separate, so you can get some stuff done along that line, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did set up my mobile rig in the house, and that's where I've been doing all my Facebook Lives. And so every Monday and every Thursday at 1:30 Mountain Time, I do a Facebook Live, and that has been keeping me super sane. And also, it's kind of forcing me to go over a lot of songs that I haven't played in a long time, because people are requesting. There's people in Italy that it shows up on the screen, and they're like, "Play this song," and I'm like, "God, man, I haven't done that in years." So it's forcing me to do that, and it's forcing me to learn new songs, and in a weird way, it's forcing me to get better at music, which I'm really enjoying the byproduct of that.
How so? How do you mean?
Well, so I've got all this different time on my hands, and since I was a kid, I mean, I've always been a huge Stevie Wonder fan, and as a kid, I remember being obsessed with Stevie Wonder's song called Sir Duke. So yesterday, I spent probably like 6 hours of the day that my wife was cool with learning that song on piano. And it is an extremely hard song to play. You know, it's you can feel it all over. But the piano parts, it's all of that stuff is extremely complex. And I don't think if it wasn't for the Corona, I really don't think that I ever would have learned it. And now I might play it on my Facebook Live today, or I might wait until next Monday to make sure I really own the song. But something about having this time has given me the opportunity to kind of dig a little deeper in music for myself and get better. And I always knew that I could. I just kind of set in my ways.
I read somewhere that you play 15 instruments. Is that right?
I do. Yes. I mean, I would say that I'm really good at 4 of them.
Okay.
The other ones, you know, once you know the language, once you speak the musical language, they all sort of follow a same set of patterns. And so in my recording studio, I can fake a bunch of other ones. I can fake cello, I can fake the banjo, I can fake mandolin and lap steel. But when it comes to, you know, piano, guitar, bass, and drums, I've got those babies down. I mean, I just turned 40 and I've been playing those instruments since I was 11. So I better damn have them by now, right?
Yeah, music in your family, I mean, growing up, was it just something you did at a very, very early age? I mean, you're like 14 and you got James Brown trying to come after you, end up, you know, going a different direction. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, how did that kind of come about that it was just automatic that music was one of those things for you?
You know, I think it's just always been in there, just in my body. And it was never something that I was told to do or it never felt like school or like homework. It was always just there. So when I was a kid, my mom, you know, we had this piano in our house, and I would just sit down and start playing, and started getting pretty good. And I think when I was around 12, my older brother, he accidentally left his guitar at home when he was coming back home from college. And a month later, when he came back home, you know, to get his guitar, I was playing Led Zeppelin songs, and he was like, "Well, I guess I'll just give it to him." So, you know, I think little things like that. You know, my brain has always understood theory. I just didn't know how to speak the language, and but I was able to figure things out. And now that I'm older and I'm starting to, and I've been around people that are way better than me. And I just ask questions my whole life. I just keep on asking questions with people who are really great at what they do. And they just, 99% of them usually give me the answers. There's that rare percentage that hold back their tricks, but usually people who are worth their salt don't do that.
You got radio play as a teenager, and again, you know, you have a chance to potentially go one route. Your family takes a little more methodical route for you and your brother and everything. Is there, at that age, everything is so instant gratification. I mean, did you look up and go, "Hey, what are we doing here?" a little bit?
You mean as far as music is concerned?
Yeah. Just, you know, the route that you kind of took, you know, slow down, you know, take everything as you could. I mean, what was that kind of like as a teenager as you kind of started getting, you know, a little bit of notoriety for it?
You know, I mean, I always knew that it was a possibility, even though, like, my younger brother was in the band with us when I was a kid, and he was actually the drummer and the singer. I would switch back and forth from guitar and bass, and we would all write the songs together. But I remember being the only one who really knew that you could do this for a living. And, you know, all the other kids, you know, we were from Augusta, Georgia, and they all thought like that people in Los Angeles were like born into their jobs or something. And I was like, I don't think so. I think, you know, put the time in, set your mind to it. I think you can do it. I just remember them, you know, we were little kids and they were like, but it was interesting. But when I got to Ole Miss is when it really happened for me, but I didn't go there for music. I went there for golf.
Right.
and I was strictly focused on golf. It's all I thought about. But then I started, I had this time away from my family, and I had all this time to myself. Kind of similar to now, like the Corona. It's like I didn't know anybody, and I had all this time to myself, and I was really blossoming again as a musician and finally as a singer. I didn't really even know I was a good singer till I got to Ole Miss. And
was that before or after you and was that before or after you and your little brother had a band?
We had a band together when we were like 15 and 16, and then that broke up, and I started, getting good at golf again. And I still played. I still would sit in. I used to sit in with James Brown's side band called Firstborn. And I was the guitar player. I was the only white kid in the band, and I was 17. And I think the only reason I got that they let me into like all these different bars and stuff was because I had a beard and I looked like I was older, I guess. But so, I was still, honing in those skills. But when I got to Ole Miss and I started playing more and recording more, and my buddy Scott Satchfield got my song "Amazing" on Rebel Radio. Mm-hmm. Man, that's just when it all happened, and that's when I knew that I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to be a golfer. This is what I'm doing. And I think I say this all the time. I give so much credit to being out there in Oxford, man, because, being able to spread my wings like that, being able to have places to play, and having that support, everybody supported the music. I used to have like 1,000 people come to the Sneaky Tiki, and it was crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I think that confidence is huge. Just having that confidence and having that support made me feel like I could go to LA and conquer it.
What's that like when you go to LA and try to get started, when you and everybody else out there, not everybody, I'm being somewhat hyperbolic, but lots of people out there trying to do the same thing?
It was very scary, and it was my first encounter with true anxiety. I did not know. I remember calling my dad, and I was like, Dad, I feel like I can't get to the end of my breath. And he goes, son, that's anxiety. And he was like, put your tennis shoes on and go run as hard as you can. And because I started getting really scared. I was like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if I run out of money? I got cut off, when I called my family. I said, hey, I've got a record deal. And my parents are like, well, just so you know, we're cutting you off. So it was interesting. But it was also exhilarating and fun. And I like being forced to make it happen, and that's kind of how I felt. I remember, when there was a moment where the A&R guy called me and he said, hey, I don't know. I remember the word. They were like, he's not a star. And I said, I think it was the head of A&R that said that. And I said to Eric Klinger, I said, just take it over his head. And I can't believe that I had the audacity to say that, but I was young and I just wanted it to happen. And he did. He took it over that guy's head, and eventually, inevitably, that hurt his job. But when he took it to the GM was like, this is a hit song. He took him the song Amazing. And then it was just like a rocket ship from there. It was crazy.
Back it up real quick. How did you kind of end up at Ole Miss? I mean, being from Georgia, I read somewhere that you had one pretty hot amateur tournament. You got a win, and all of a sudden you became a golf recruit.
Yeah. Well, what happened is I wanted to be in the SEC, and I was my senior year. I won in high school the high school state championship, and then I won a big tournament called what was it called? It was in Hilton Head, Palmetto Hall Invitational or something like that. And I totally careered it, by the way. I probably should have never been in Division I golf, but I careered a big tournament, and it's because my dad told me to take my driver and 3-wood out of the bag because I used to be wild with the driver, but I was ripping this 1-iron He goes, just take your driver and throw it out of the bag. And I hit a 1-iron off the tee this whole tournament, and I won the tournament with this little buttercut 1-iron stinger. And Coach Woody Cowart, called me and, offered me a spot on the team. And I was like, yes, I want to be in the SEC. And I think the other option was like UNC Wilmington, and I can't remember what else it was. Maybe the Citadel or something like that. I used to wrestle, so I possibly would have been wrestling at the Citadel. That does not sound fun to me right now. No offense to anybody that went to the Citadel. But Ole Miss, that's what got me there.
Can you be a bit of a ringer in pro-ams?
I used to be, but I also have to say this. My buddy Brendan Fisher from Augusta, Georgia, he is the big reason that I got in too, because he was already on the team and he was my in with Coach Woody Cowart. So, but nowadays, you know what? Now I finally am again, because I got my handicap up to a 6.
Ooh.
And it's because I'm all over the place. I'm telling you, I'll shoot 90 or I'll shoot 74. And so if you get me on one of those good days, or, in a pro-am, as long as somebody hits the fairway and lets me unleash, then I'm good. But I'm still just as wild off the tee as I used to be.
If the gods came down today and offered you a choice, you could either do what you do now, or you could be a top 25 player on the PGA Tour, which would you take?
Man, no joke, I would totally do what I'm doing now. You kidding me? I mean, I found Katherine Heigl, America's freaking sweetheart. I have no idea how she married me. I have no idea why she said yes, but she did.
So did you meet her in L.A.?
Every now and then I did. Actually, I had just bought a house in Nashville, and I was, I've been trying to get out of L.A. for years. So I was in L.A. for years. I bought a house in Nashville in 2005, and that's when I convinced my younger brother to come live with me out there. The very next day, I had to fly back to L.A. to film a music video for a song called "Only You," and Katie was the girl that was hired to be the leading lady in the music video, and we have been together ever since that day. We just hit it off, and I just remember going, "Man, I like this girl. She is awesome. And at first, it wasn't even about looks. It was just that she's cool and she's fun and she's funny and goofy and then we started doing our scenes together, and I was like, and she's hot. So it was wild. It was a wild time. I mean, we've been together now since May 23rd, 2005. So
some of that,
it's been a while.
Some of that same confidence and hubris as you going with the record rep, right? Kind of the same thing there.
With the what?
The same, the same confidence you had with the record rep, kind of the same thing with Katherine, right? You had to just take a shot.
I think so. I just remember thinking, like, I'm not going to let her get away from me. And I do think that having Southern charm, is a huge leg up for any dude, especially when you're out in LA or you're in New York. Or there's something about the Southern charm and being a gentleman, and I will say this a lot for the game of golf too. When people know that you're a golfer and especially a good golfer, you become synonymous with being honest and a gentleman. And there's just something about all of that really helps out. So I think the confidence played a big part. Yeah.
Just doing timeline in my head, that would have been right before Grey's Anatomy took off, right?
It totally was, guys. I got her for, I tell this joke in my shows all the time. I say, I got her for $20,000 because before she became a huge, star. I mean, she was already a star, but she wasn't, she got really big right there during Grey's Anatomy. I think 9 episodes of that first short season aired by the time we met. And it had not taken off yet. And by the way, I got to witness all that. And I'm telling you, that was crazy. Watching, I think female actors, when they become stars in America, it's like royalty. It's weird. And I'll tell you, being from Augusta, I was not prepared for it. People everybody wanting to get to her. I almost felt like they were trying to attack her all the time. And I just wanted to for lack of better words, like kick everybody's ass.
Yeah.
Cameramen, just like 40, 50, 60 following us everywhere. It was wild. I mean, I just wanted to break all of their cameras over their head.
Yeah,
That's how I felt. I was always angry.
Yeah, the fishbowl has to be something there's no way to prepare for at that point, and how quickly that happens.
No way to prepare for it. It was so weird, and in hindsight, I wish that I'd handled a lot of it differently. But I mean, I was 25, in a hothead. It's like, what are you going to do? But now I'm just like, I don't even know, do paparazzi exist anymore now that social media is so big? It's like, why do they even have a place in the world? I'm not even sure.
I guess they do, but you don't really see them anymore like you used to. You're right. I hadn't even thought about it that way. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I did the Today Show, couple that won that reality show, what was it called? Where they couldn't see each other, but they got married. Well, I can't remember what.
Love Is Blind.
They're like, Love Is Blind. Yeah. So
have you watched that, man?
Watching that show, and then yeah, true. We watched it, and I got to meet them, and it was cool. I got to meet them, and honestly, I think they're gonna make it. I can't believe it. But
you're talking about the couple that
when we were going outside. Yeah, the couple that won. I can't remember their names right now. The ones that actually got married.
Okay.
They when they were going outside, the paparazzi were out there, and then when I got in the car with my manager and my publicist, I was like, I can't believe the paparazzi still exists. And she said, no, nowadays they're paid for. So you pay for them to make it, to make a moment look bigger because it kind of, just for publicity wise. And I hate saying that, but it is the truth. And, because you do, I guess these people right now, they're on this big rise, and you want to make it look as big and as important as possible. But I don't think any of those photos from back in the day when we were dealing with that are any better than the iPhone photos that people are taking now. So I think that's just the way it is now, right? It's on social media.
Switching gears a little bit, two of your children are adopted. My daughter's adopted. You did one domestic, one international. What was, was that somewhat of a decision on, where to go for that, kind of what process to take? Because I know I remember when we went through it, we looked at Poland and some Eastern countries and whatnot, and ended up doing domestic. But it's just it's such a rewarding but a strange thing as you're kind of going through it, because there's not necessarily one answer for it.
No, and I say this in my shows all the time. I actually think that, do you remember you fill out a novel before you're able to adopt? I mean, it's like 400 pages or something, and I actually think that every couple should have to fill out all those pages before they decide they want to have even biological kids, because you learn a lot about yourself. You learn if you and your spouse are on the same page, even parenting wise, and there's something about having to take that time to even just really know if you're even prepared to be a father or a mother. And it was interesting. I mean, it was Katie's idea. Her sister was adopted from South Korea when she was a little girl, or I guess maybe before she was born. And so she grew up with an adopted sister. So before we got married, she said, I want to adopt first. And she said, is that okay with you? And I said, absolutely. Who would say, no, man, I'm just not really into, giving a child a forever home. It's not really into saving it. Who would say, no, that's just not in the cards for me.
Yeah.
And, but she wanted to make sure that I was cool with that. And I said, absolutely, honey. And, so we went through that process, and she said, I'd like to try South Korea first. And so we did, and we got really lucky because that Hague Treaty came around about a year after we got Nayli. And now it's really hard to adopt out of Korea. So we adopted Nayli, and then Adelaide, we adopted domestically, and that kind of came out of nowhere. I think that came because we had showed that we were, honest, viable parents, and we always said that we would be open to it in the future if the child needed a home and blah, blah, blah. And Adelaide, she was a newborn, and she is a total spitfire, man. And little Joshua Jr. came because Katie's app was wrong on her phone. Because that damn app said that there was no petals on the flower.
How old?
No, I was cool. I didn't. I wasn't even like, I didn't need to have a biological child. I was done with 2 girls. I was like, this is great. This is perfect. I've got a lot that I want to do the rest of my life. I don't want to be raising kids forever. But I do love having a little boy. It is really fun, and he is a brute of a child. And it is. I told her, I was like, I think we're good now, right? We're at a good number.
How old was your oldest when you obtained custody?
What's that?
How old was your oldest when you attained custody, when the adoption went through?
Age-wise? she was probably about 10 months old.
Okay.
Haley was, yeah, and she came, and what's interesting about with South Korea is that they hold the children a lot, because they feel like that sort of skin to skin mother, whatever, nurturing. So her, the lady who was taking care of her, basically had her like in a sling all the time. So when she came to us, she couldn't even crawl or anything. It was very interesting. She was just a sack of potatoes, and but it was really very, very cool. And I remember being nervous, before she was coming to us. I was like, what if she doesn't like me? What if we don't bond? And my wife said, I just know when I put that baby in your arms, you are going to be good to go. And she was right. Right when I held Naylee, she's like, I just felt this energy, like she accepted me as her dad. And that little sack of potatoes watched the Golf Channel with me for about a year.
It's funny you said that. That's one of my actually first memories too. Was when Carly Ann came home. It was probably just a couple weeks, and my first real thought or thing that I recall was it was one morning, and we had her since birth. Like we were literally the night she was born. We're in the hospital, but the Augusta National Drive, Chip, and Putt was on, and I remember just sitting there holding her for hours during that while the kids were playing at Augusta, and that's, for whatever reason, that's one of the first things that pops into my mind. So it's funny you said that about the Golf Channel.
Yeah, isn't that cool? You remember those memories.
Mm-hmm.
I think Katie was doing a movie called Life as We Know It with my buddy Josh Duhamel, and I just remember sitting in that hotel room in Atlanta watching the Golf Channel and just chilling like a villain with my baby. And it was awesome. I loved it.
This is nowhere near the same thing. Yeah, sorry. I can't listen to my own voice. I hate it. It drives me insane. If y'all were just sitting around, can she have a movie on that she was in or something? Or is that something that even doable? Because to me, that would kind of bug me to be on screen in front of me.
Well, we do watch a lot of current projects that she's doing because we analyze them. I do all the ADR for her so that she doesn't have to go into some studio and do them. So we do all that. And so I'm kind of involved too with trying to match everything. But, we don't really like go back and watch any of the movies, unless maybe one of the girls wants to see 27 Dresses or something like that. I mean, I think 27 Dresses is like the total equalizer. Like all men and women and kids really like that movie. I think that's kind of like the favorite. So when that comes on, it's always entertaining to see it, and it's really wild to see. It's really wild to see yourself and to see her. When we were just babies. When we were in our early 20s, it's just weird. And we had no idea what we were doing. We thought we knew everything.
What are you missing sports wise right now? I mean, I know you're a pretty big sports guy. So with all this going on, what's the withdrawal level like?
Well, I was really getting into watching the NBA. So last year was probably the most sports I've watched in my whole entire life. I think I watched just about every NFL game and every SEC game I watched. I watched my boy Plumlee rush for over What did he write? What is it, 1,000 yards, something like that?
A lot, yeah.
That dude's a wild animal. What is it? What is that going to be like? What's next year going to be like this year?
I'm just praying there
Hopefully
isn't this
when
year,
we-
Josh.
We're
That's
just
the hope
we're just
right
hoping
now
for a
is-
season at this point, Josh. It's really that simple.
I mean, is this going to be? So yeah, I think I was really getting into watching the NBA, and obviously I'm a big golfer. So I mean, I watch. My wife is always saying, "Is like, does golf ever end?" I said, "Honey, it never ends."
Yeah, I know. It's
So
that,
yeah, I do. I watch a lot of sports.
You a Jazz fan, or did you pick another team, or do you just like the sport in general?
I've been having fun watching LeBron. I'll tell you that right now. I know some people are against me on that because they think he's so cocky, but he's so freaking good, man.
Yeah, no, he's awesome.
I watched a little bit of the Jazz. I did see that comment the other day. When what's his name from the Jazz? He was touching the microphone all over
Rudy
the place.
Gobert.
And oh my God. I mean, is he ever going to be able to live that down? I don't even know. But
Well, a lot of people think in some ways Gobert is going to go down as sort of the idiot hero. Because had that not happened that night, a lot of the games would have continued, and more people would have been exposed, and there would have been thousands of people in arenas all over the place, and that it would have escalated much faster.
So this accidental hero, that's what my buddy up down the street from me says here, is huge Jazz fan. He said that same thing. You just never know. I don't know. I don't really know. I definitely have found myself distancing myself from the news now. I can't look up the coronavirus anymore. I can't watch any more news about it because it's not gonna help me anyway. I think it's better just to spend this time and find the positive and realize that, what it is doing. The positives are that it's got my family closer together, and it's got all my brothers and sisters' families are closer together. It's given Mother Earth a little time to breathe from its virus, which is the human race. I think that, think about this, like all the smog levels are like completely just like choked off.
I was getting ready to ask you that.
Really great.
Have you seen? I mean, it's only been a week and a half or something. Have you seen some of the pictures of downtown Los Angeles?
No, I haven't.
It's incredible.
I will look that up after this.
Yeah, you should. The air, for lack of a better term, looks so different. I know that sounds idiotic, and
that's one of the reasons why I got out of LA. It's because I was like, this is, and I love LA. I miss so much about it. But just all of that smog, and also there's a lot of smug there too. There's a lot of people that just, they just hate themselves because there's only so many slots that are available in the entertainment industry, and you've got millions of people coming in every day trying to fill those slots, and there's a lot of rejection. So, but getting back to Mother Earth, man, I feel like, it just doesn't feel like a sign like this is like a little bit of a cleansing. I don't mean in any death. I mean just for, what our pool of resources from this great earth, has just been halted. And I think that's good.
Yeah, I think it was the New York Times that had a story where it showed the kind of the satellite, like the splotches of what the pollution and sky smog levels were in major cities, and it essentially had evaporated. It went from this dark, huge purple to this just kind of light color as far as above the atmosphere right now. So it was crazy.
Amazing. I remember reading this thing on Instagram that said that global warming needs the coronavirus's publicist because the climate crisis needs the coronavirus's publicist because, obviously, like that's a huge crisis that we need to deal with. But that it looks like the coronavirus is kind of helping us deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. So they're working hand in hand. I don't want to get too deep into it, but because my wife and I, we will talk about this, over a couple cocktails at night for hours. But it is definitely, it sucks that it's going on for sure. But I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I'm always trying to see the positives. And anybody who knows me knows that that's how my vessel works. And I do definitely see some positives, but I will tell you this: every now and then when I feel the gravity of it, I do get scared. I'm like, oh my God, it gives me a little anxiety.
There are
Like,
probably
I hope this doesn't go on.
There are probably a lot of females in our audience right now that are wondering, what is Katherine Heigl's cocktail of choice on a random Monday night when you're isolating?
Oh, I would. Hers is a dirty martini, super dirty, dry.
Gin or
I think that
vodka?
she tells me to wave the vermouth in front of it, but I sometimes put one little teardrop of vermouth in there.
Okay. Are we doing gin or vodka?
She's vodka.
Okay.
Yeah, and last night because I made some guacamole, and she was like, you know what, maybe margaritas. So, and my margaritas, the JK margaritas, you be careful if you want to get on that train, because they are strong and they're deadly, and you don't realize that you're getting hit over the head with it. And so I got her hammered yesterday, and she is so mad at me right now. So it's good that I'm out here in this truck right now.
What are you what are you going with? You a bourbon guy or what?
I am. I'm Maker's Mark and a little bit of ginger ale, sometimes ginger beer on the rocks. That is my jam. And if it's not that, I like super, super cold IPAs.
Okay.
If I drink beer, they need to be just like really cold. I don't understand people that drink lukewarm beer.
I know you mentioned it early in the show. So what's your what's your schedule when you going live on the internet for people that might want to interact and check in?
Okay, so yeah, I do Facebook Live every Monday and every Thursday, right around 1:30 Mountain Time, 3:30 East Coast. Today, right after we get off the phone, I'm actually doing a writing session. My publishing company has this like writing camp that usually you do it in person, but now they're calling it Concord Camp Quarantine. So I'm doing a Skype writing session with these two female writers in Canada today. And so my session today with Facebook Live will be pushed back probably about an hour. So I'll probably do it today around 2:30 Mountain Time. But normally it'll be Joshua Jr.'s bedtime that I do these.
Okay.
And it also helps because Europe gets to see it too. So yeah, just look up Josh B. Kelley on Instagram, and you can click that link in the bio or look me up on Facebook, and they're fun for me to do. And super high quality on the audio. I figured out how to get my studio quality audio in there, so I'm not using like the phone's recorder.
I know that it's so much uncertainty right now, but do you have any idea if you're gonna be able to postpone and pick up tour dates and that kind of thing, or is it a wait and see, or where
I
you at?
did. So we've already started rescheduling. I was one of the first ones to postpone my tour, and thank God that's all because of my wife. And so we were able to get some slots that a lot of people were trying to get because everybody had to cancel their tours. And so I know that the Atlanta show is going to be on August 20th. And then I know the Nashville show will be August 22nd with the album release on the 23rd. And then all the other dates are going to start falling in place after that. So, yeah, late August, September, I'll be back on the road again, God willing.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, amen to that.
Well, I appreciate it all the time, and as we keep getting isolated and quarantined, maybe we'll do it again. But really appreciate it, Josh.
Yeah, let's do it anytime, guys. I'm always around, and I love to chat. So thank you guys so much for thinking of me, and thanks for your time as well, and thanks for what you do. Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Josh.
Talk
Take
soon,
care.
Josh. Was Josh Kelley joining us there on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline? As again, he's in Park City. I'm sure there's worse places to be, as he said, during isolation and during this this period of all of our lives, is just trying to get through it. There probably is something to that. He mentioned it right at the beginning of the show. When you've been on tour and you're kind of in that grind a little bit, maybe as much as kind of when I asked you at the start of the show, but even more so, kind of getting back to roots a little bit. You're interacting with people and fans, and you've got time to just play around and kind of experiment with things. I mean, music probably the one area you can do it above all else. But I mean, there probably is a complete and utter sort of breath that you can take in that situation.
Yeah, maybe so. I fell down the trap of actually looking at Facebook. I mean, the other day, and if you pay any attention to Facebook, you know that everyone is coping with this much better than you are.
Well, yeah, everybody's doing homeschool, and not only doing homeschool, but they are they have literally 8 hours a day on chalkboards and dry erase boards, and it's perfect.
And they're having family game night, and everyone is just sitting around. That's not my experience with this. There's more stress, and by the end of the day, I sense that the kids don't want to be around us. They want to be in their own spaces. They don't want to sit down for a family game of Monopoly. And so, I mean, I've come to one of two conclusions. Either fake book is completely fake, or we did a really poor job of raising our kids to want to all be together. So I don't know which is which.
We talked about it at this point. What's your early takes once that the Tom Brady news is official in Tampa? How's it going to be?
Just hope he gets to play there. That's it. My sports takes.
You're very firm on that right now.
My sports takes right now that people keep coming back and they're like, hey, give me a list. Give me a this. No, I just hope we get seasons. I said this yesterday on G-Pits that there was, I think I might have told you in a conversation we had, that I've kind of based this on NBA and MLB people for a while because I know that everyone will follow them. There was some optimism middle of last week from NBA and MLB people that, hey, we're going to get this thing going late June, early July. That optimism seemed to fade over the weekend. I'm kind of hoping it comes back. That's what bothers me. I mean, you listen to Josh just then, and he talked, when are you resuming your tour? It's August the 22nd. It's kind of late. And so I always think about, okay, from a sports standpoint, what's the drop dead spot? When do you I keep asking, I don't know about you, keep getting the question, and maybe now it's people being funny, but it's, hey, what do you think about spring practice? And it's like that's not happening. There's a zero in my mind, 0.0% chance that spring football happens. That's insane to even think about. Like, look at Ole Miss right now today. Eli Johnson, if they were in the middle of spring practice, it would be stopped right now. Because he's been exposed to it. And so he's exposed his teammates to it if they were all together, right. Which means you're having to quarantine everyone. So it's why I'm not particularly confident that there's going to be a Major League Baseball season. In fact, if you made me bet today, I'd bet that there won't be one. At all. I think it's becoming readily apparent that the NBA is going to run out of time. Because here's the problem. Let's say the NBA restarts and then somebody pick a guy on the Clippers, okay, test positive. Do you have to quarantine the Clippers for 14 days? And if you do, that shuts it all down. So I'm not confident at all on that. And then I wonder if you try to bring all these college programs together too soon. Try to we've got to get ready for the season. We've got to get back in our off-season program. Okay, so you bring them all back, say, June the 20th, and then 3 guys test positive and have symptoms. You have to quarantine the whole team for 14 days. How does that work? I'm not as optimistic today as I was middle of last week about any of it, frankly. And that's the part that I've had a hard time with, I didn't even write about it. And here's why. I didn't write about the NBA winners and losers of free agency and stuff because I catch myself just going, well, I just hope they get to play. I mean, if Tom Brady gets to play for Tampa, I'm more in today than I ever would be watching Tom Brady in a Bucs uniform. And I think my response to, doesn't that look weird? I would say, no, man, it just looks beautiful. It means that we're back to normal. It means that we're able to mitigate this thing down to a place where we can have sports back again.
What is your thought process as you're trying to figure out 10 thoughts every week, given that? I mean, it's probably kind of a struggle on not just coming up with thoughts, but, hey, what tone, what am I trying to do here? Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like Laura 2 weeks ago said, how are you going to do that? And I was like, I don't know. I'll be all right. And the first week I was fine. And then this week was really hard. It was kind of hard to come up with stuff. And I don't want to be a doomsday guy, and I don't want to be super negative, but I also don't want to be a propagandist who says, oh yeah, we're going to be good. Let's let's predict what's going to happen in the NFL season. Because one of the things I wonder about, and there's a question in the live thread about, it's from Robert Layden. He says, Neal, do you think students will return to college campuses in the fall disregarding sports? One of the questions I have, the NFL can push back. I do wonder about college campuses. At what point can you push, how far can you push back before you're like, this semester got away? How does that work?
Well, and Ole Miss go into pass-fail in some areas, Z grades. I mean, that's – again, everybody's trying to manage best they can. I don't really mean this as a criticism, but, okay, you're going to pass-fail. Kids that were right on the cusp or kind of in that middle ground, they're probably slacking off and go, hey, I'm just trying to pass. There's no reason to do anything.
Yeah.
And then your kids with the 4.0s on the line and the A's, they're pissed.
Yeah.
Because suddenly it's just a pass-fail, and they're in the same boat as everybody else. Which is going to be, hey, are they going to stay engaged? We're already having to kind of really up the engagement anyway as far as keeping kids in tune with these online classes.
Yeah.
You've got some professors doing a great job. You have some that, frankly, have given up. I mean, it's a complicated thing right now, and I don't know how this is working. That's why I don't believe the semester finishes. Just my opinion.
So it just ends in an incomplete?
I don't know. No, I think they'll push people through.
Because if you end in an incomplete,
yeah,
parents like me, I'm going to say, I want my money back.
Yeah, I don't believe that. But I'll just be a little stunned if the plans that are going on right now make it through the middle of May. I guess that's my point. We'll see. Hope I'm wrong. I mean, I'm just throwing some thoughts out.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm curious to see what happens with just the Oxford School District, which is a well-to-do, well-off, well-organized, well-run school district. Can you keep the streams up? We don't live in a metropolitan area. There are kids that are out in fairly rural areas. Where we are right now is quasi-rural.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Wi-Fi not it's good, but it's not great, and it gets spotty. And when everybody's on it at once, it can get pretty shaky.
Yeah.
What happens? But like, you know, with Campbell's got a shot at a 4.0 this semester at this point. If you go to pass-fail, is she as motivated? And if you go to a pass-fail and she's not as motivated, does she learn? Because she's a freshman. She's taking a lot of base-level classes, economics, accounting, data, things that are classes that she has to build on in the future. If you don't get these building blocks now, are there cracks in your foundation academically that get exposed later? There's a lot of questions. I don't hold these different universities responsible as, you know, there's no reason that anybody at Ole Miss or LSU or Arkansas or Mississippi State or wherever had some meeting in August where they said, hey, now listen, let's as we prepare for this academic year, let's talk about the chances of a pandemic that will shut the – I mean, that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Those questions have to be asked now, and then a lot of those people that need to make those decisions, they can't all get in one room and make those decisions.
Mm-hmm. So, take a final break in the show to tell you about Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com/events. Just go to the page, go to the website. At the top, they have a COVID-19 ways to support Oxford. It's got a list of restaurants and retailers or services offered at this time for curbside and delivery services. There's a link to how to support service industry employees at this time as well, and then also some organizations in need and the like there. So again, visit oxfordms.com to find out more if you're local and figuring out a way to either help out or figure out what the services are and how to use them.
The podcast is also brought to you by Nest and Wild. Sleep better with the Nest and Wild mattress. It is a Mississippi-based mattress company making a high-quality mattress delivered right to your door. They make buying a new mattress easy. Every Nest and Wild mattress is 1 foot thick, giving you comfort and support that will last. A lot of online brands sell an 8-inch or 10-inch mattress with less support and durability, but not Nest and Wild. They're 100% American-made, all 1 foot thick, and it also comes with a podcast discount. Go to nestandwild.com, order your mattress, use the podcast code REBEL20, get 20% off your purchase. Your mattress will arrive at your door in 3 to 5 days. We'll be taping a Mind on My Money tomorrow. Those have been pretty informative for those of you who are worried, concerned about your financial accounts as they navigate their way through this crisis. That podcast is brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Go to pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. Now is the time that you want a very comprehensive detailed financial retirement plan, you want professionals monitoring it, and they'll do that at Penn Trust. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee. We're also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. It's a Marriott property in downtown Jackson, home to Soul Spa, also home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Again, it's the Westin Jackson in downtown Jackson. And we're brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. At some point, whether it's July, August, whenever this is going to end, and you are going to want to get away, you're going to want to recharge your batteries, 901-494-3387. That's the number you call. JEdwards@regencytravel.net. That's the email. Send them some parameters. Give them a budget. They'll give you options, John will, that you won't find on your own. And no, you don't have to live near Memphis to take advantage of his services. And you can save $50 off your first book trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. GrenadaNissanUSA.com. We're also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. They are open today. Drive-through only. The lobby is closed, but they're open to service your banking needs if you are in Oxford or if you're moving to Oxford. They've got Kasasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account. And with Kasasa, OUB pays customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refunds ATM fees nationwide. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxford.bankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured.
What are you reading right now?
I am in the middle of two books.
Okay. Can you do that? Bounce back and forth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, got nothing but time. I'm reading Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger, and I'm reading a book called Accidental Presidents by Jared Cohen about people who inherited the White House without being elected into it and how critical turns out their roles were in American history.
How many of those are there? I mean,
like
I consider it in my head and do
like
it.
8 or 9. It's pretty interesting.
Okay. That's a large percentage.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, like was it I'm already off. I mean, obviously the ones that you know, Lyndon Johnson and people like that, but like there was the one president, was it Taft? That got I can't remember who it was. I have to go back and look at it. As you've been saying, you're scattered. I'm a little scattered today. A president got elected, got sick basically during the inauguration and didn't make it long, and so somebody inherited 3.5 years of the White House.
That'd be a long time.
Especially if you didn't want the job.
That's one point, yeah.
That's one of the things that's interesting is that back in the day, and it's not like that now where you have to be a psychopath to want the job. Back in the day, people took that job because friends said, hey, we need you to do this for our country.
You think it was more noble back then?
Oh, there's no question. Like Ulysses S. Grant, he didn't want the job. He got talked into running. Didn't want it at all. Family didn't want it. And yet, James Monroe didn't want it. One of our founding fathers, he didn't want that job. But it was kind of like, hey, you've got to do this. If you don't do it, the country will fall apart. No, I don't think it's anywhere near that noble now. Do you?
No, the media has not necessarily media. There's a lot of reasons, but there's an extra level of narcissism, or like you said, just a little bit of a screw loose.
Yeah.
Not always, not making him a bad guy, just something to take on that pressure. And
yeah,
I mean, maybe for some of them it is a complete purpose and a nobility, but I mean, they've got a level that I can't even comprehend if that's the case. You know what I mean? That you're sacrificing your life essentially for it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, you look at every one of them, the day they got in, they get out, and the stress and the everything involved with it today. I don't know.
They're having a debate in the thread about when college campuses are open again and back to normal. If you had to bet, what would you bet?
Delayed fall start. That's my guess.
Yeah. October.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you told me you could get started in mid-September, I wouldn't be blown away.
Yeah. Today, I guess because I'm being a little negative, I would say January of 2021. Things resume, quote, normally, end quote.
We're still in the don't know phase.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
That's the thing.
No
Positively or negatively, we're still in the don't know phase. So I don't know. It's a good question, but in my head, I've got to hold out some hope, or I'll drive myself crazy. I
Is
just
it
can't.
Chance for somebody out there to be a real hero, whether it's of course, you can't speed a vaccine, but you could, if you found a medicine that stopped it, and you could mass produce that medicine, you'd be a hero today.
Well, there's the hope that they're the World Health Organization's testing those 3 right now.
Yeah.
And just see where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already supplying some of them because, like I said, David Johnson reported in that Facebook post that he was given the malaria drug.
Right.
So, hopefully, I don't know.
That was the fight last week, on the press conference and stuff. And it's just, sometimes I just, like, what's the doctor's name? Fauci?
Yeah.
There's a comforting element to him when he talks. Like, I feel like I'm getting the truth. I'm not getting negativity. I'm not getting optimism. I'm just getting truth.
Like I said, it's calm.
Yeah. I wish sometimes they would just let him go in there, take the podium, get rid of everybody else, and go, okay, ask your questions. And then I wish the media would take a pledge. Can we not do the blame game right now? Can we get to just a place, because everybody's to blame. Did the White House handle this the right way in January? Of course not. Would the media, had the White House been more aggressive in January, giving Trump a break? Of course not. The liberals and the conservatives can't work together. We see that right now. Democrats, Republicans, they just fight like dogs and cats. So let's get past the blame game. Let's talk about what we can do. And then at the end of it, when it's over, there'll be lots of time to do the autopsy. And we can figure out who to blame and who to punish and all of that stuff. That's where I get frustrated. Instead, everything is about the blame game today. There's a time for the blame game. In November, people will go to the ballots and they'll vote. And if this is Trump's undoing, the American public will speak. And if the American public feels that Trump deserves 4 more years, they'll speak there too. And one of the great thing about our country is that throughout history, there has always been a peaceful transition of power.
Mm-hmm.
And we bow to the American public. The American public speaks, and it is the final word. And that word comes in November. And I just sometimes wish that here in March, as we face this crisis, we could all just say, hey, let's put some of that aside for right now and figure this out, and then let the American public speak in November.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll close the show there. Again, appreciate Josh Kelley giving us a lot of time today. Gonna take a shot at some guests, try to fill the time with interesting people and stories, and see if we can bring you some content that you will enjoy during this period of the year and the period of our lives. So, thanks to him. Thanks to all you guys for hanging out in the stream and for our listeners every single day. And we will talk to you again tomorrow.